All right, this is a Class B Form A. First thing I'm checking is under the vehicle from the front, as well as we'll check from the back, making sure that there is no leaks. As I approach the vehicle, I'm going to check my headlights, turn signals, and marker lights to make sure they are all properly mounted and secured. None of them are cracked, damaged, or loose. My headlights are clean and clear. My turn signals and marker lights are both amber in color. We're going to go now to the back of the vehicle where the engine compartment is. At the rear of the vehicle, again, this is where the engine is, so I want to check underneath to make sure I see no visible leaks coming from the engine area. As I go into the compartment, I want to check a general overview of all hoses, making sure all hoses are properly mounted and secure. None of them are cracked, damaged, loose. None of them are leaking. I want to check my alternator. Alternator is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, damaged, or loose. It is belt driven, so I want to check the belt to make sure there's no more than 3/4 inch play, no cuts, tears, or frays in the belt. Also, I want to check the wiring on the back side of the alternator to make sure that there's no cut, torn, or frayed wiring. From here, we're going to go around to the opposite side of the motor. Actually, we'll start here. I want to check to make sure that my engine oil, I would pull the dipstick out, wipe it off, reinsert, pull it back out again to make sure it is filled to the proper level and there's no contaminants in my oil. I've got my coolant reservoir here. I would pull the cap off, make sure that it is filled to the proper level. The actual reservoir itself is properly mounted secure. It is not cracked, damaged, loose. It is not leaking. I want to check my power steering reservoir, make sure it is filled to the proper level, make sure the cap is on tight. Also want to make sure that I have no leaks coming from the reservoir itself. Checking the hoses coming from it, making sure that there is no leaks coming from the actual power steering hoses. Then I'll come around to this side. I want to check my water pump, which is directly in the center. We cannot see it, but it is belt driven. I want to check to make sure that the water pump is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, damaged, or loose. I do not see any visible leaks coming from the water pump, and the belt has no more than 3/4 inch play, no cuts, tears, or frays in the belt. My air compressor is right here. Air compressor is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, damaged, or loose. I hear no audible leaks as well as see no visible leaks because it is gear driven. Underneath it is my power steering pump, properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose. The power steering pump is gear driven as well, so again I see no visible leaks coming from the power steering pump. I want to do a general overview on this side of the motor, just again to make sure I see no visible leaks coming from anything, making sure that all hoses are properly mounted and secured. From here, we're going to go back to the front of the bus, and we're going to check our steering. Alright, so up underneath, I want to check to make sure that my steering arm is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, damaged, or loose. All bolts and Carter keys are in place. I want to check all steering linkages coming back to make sure that they are all properly mounted and secure. None of them are cracked, damaged, or loose. Also making sure that all bolts and Carter keys are in place. My steering gearbox is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, damaged, or loose. Also making sure that the gearbox itself has no visible leaks. The hoses coming from the gearbox are also properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and I see no visible leaks. Going into my brakes, my brake lines are properly mounted and secure. They're not cracked, damaged, or loose. I hear no audible leaks. I want to check my brake chamber, properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose. Again, I hear no audible leaks, and the brake chamber is intact with the band and bolt. I have disc brakes, so I want to check my discs to make sure they're properly mounted and secure. Not cracked, damaged, or loose. No signs of bluing, which would be excessive heat on my disc, as well as checking my pads to make sure they're not worn dangerously thin with no contaminants like oils or grease. Alright, I want to check to make sure for my suspension, I've got front mounting bracket and rear mounting bracket for my leaf springs. Both are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose. My leaf springs themselves are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose. I have no missing or scissoring leaves. My U-bolts are held intact. They're properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose. The bolts are intact at the bottom. I have a hydraulic shock absorber, properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose. The shock absorber itself is not leaking. I also have airbags. Airbags are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose. The airbags themselves are properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and I have no audible leaks coming from the airbags. Coming out to the tire, I want to check the tire pressure, or the tread depth is at least 4/32 inch tread. I want to check the inner and outer sidewalls, no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. I want to check my valve stem, properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose. I hear no audible leaks, as well as I would check the tire pressure with a tire pressure gauge. I want to check my front rim, no cracks, no illegal welds. Lug nuts are all present, none are loose. Signs of a loose lug nut would be a rust run or a shiny thread. And I want to check my axle seal, properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and there are no visible leaks. That completes the end of a Form A.